Hello and welcome again to ProBench How to series. In this video, I am going to cover how to work with the template toolbox. So, as a part of this video, let me demonstrate how we can kind of modify the template, modify the questions, how to add questions, remove questions. So, let me take you through that. So when you log in as a ProBench manager, the first screen you see is manage participants. So to modify the template, you have to go to survey, manage templates. You will see the existing templates that has been added into the system. As we are using diversity benchmark, we would click on the edit link here and go to the template. So here you see the template. Now, this is the toolbox that I am talking about, whatever you see on the top. So whenever you highlight a particular node or a question, you will see the template toolbox, and you will see the borders at the side whenever I hover over a particular question. So that border gives you a sense of what is included under this particular question, or what all areas or what all questions are uh, included in this particular area of the toolbox. So the toolbox would be operating within this boundaries. So this is what the border suggests. Now say I want to, like, I have already created a page called as company details. Let me start this with kind of adding few questions, a couple of questions, and then we'll add various or use various other tools that are there on the toolbox. So let me start with adding a question. So what I'll do is, as I want to add a question under this particular page, what I'll do is I'll highlight or hover over this particular page question and click on add a question. So when I click on add a question, it would automatically add a question as a child of that particular uh, question, which is a page question. So under a page, now I have two questions. One is company name, and another, let me add it as number of employees. And as the number of employees would be a number and not a text, let me change the question type to number. So similarly, there are lots of other question types in place. So like these are few of the default question types, and then we can also add some of the custom question types if needed. So this is how I created one question. Now I want to add another question to the same page. So let the question be like, do you operate globally? And the answer to this would be obviously either yes or a no. So let me create a question or a single select question. So a single select question in ProBench is called as a radio question. And under the radio, obviously I'll have to add the two options, that is yes and a no, or yeah. So now if you see, I'm now hovering over the radio question because I want to add the options or the choices under the radio option. So now I'll select or hover over the radio question and then click on question. So it would add another question, and I can add a couple of questions at the same time. And let me give the option text as yes. And here I'll select it as a choice. Now I'll add another choice, and that has a text as no, and I'll add another choice. So this is how I have created two questions under a question as page, under a page level question. Now, as I have made changes to the whole template or the structure of the template, as I have added question and uh, added multiple questions, I'll click on save changes. So save changes, whenever you make any structural changes to the survey, clicking on save changes is very important. Now let's go and use other tools that are there in place on the toolbox. So the next we'll do is cut and paste. So basically cut and paste is basically used to move a question around. Like suppose I want do you operate globally question about number of employees. So what I'll do is I'll cut that question. You'll see that question has been appearing here, and then hover over number of employees and click on paste. So when I click on paste, I get a dialog box asking me if I want to add it immediately before the number of employees or add it as a child of number of employees. So obviously in this case, I want to add it before the number of employees as a sibling at the same level. So what I'll do is I'll click on OK. So here if you see the do you operate globally question has been moved on the top of the number of employees. So this is what is like moving question around. So you use cut and then you use paste to move question from one place to another. Now the next is like copy and paste. So suppose I want to have the same structure, say yes and no, okay, for some other question. Uh, so what I'll do is instead of creating a radio and then adding multiple childs or multiple choices under it, what I'll do is I'll copy this particular question, and as I want it to be a child or within the same page, that is company details, I'll hover over the company details and click on paste. So now again it is asking me whether I want to paste it above the company details or whether I want to uh, make it as a child node. Now in this case I want to make it as a child node. So what I'll do is I'll click on cancel. So here as I clicked on cancel, it added the copied question as a child of company details. Now obviously I want to change this question text because the whole structure of the question, that is do you operate globally, has been copied over to this new question. So I would say uh, so this way I have just changed the question text but kept the structure same. So the copy and paste tool would help you to kind of copy the same structure or multiple questions in one go and paste it at some other location within the whole template. So I think we have covered this three now, that is cut, copy and paste. Now the next is like deleting the question. So obviously like when you if you don't want a particular question, you need to delete it. So when I click on delete, it would ask me, are you sure you want to delete? Because there is a possibility that you click delete by mistake or by moving some question over to some other place. So if I click on OK, it would delete it. And if I click on cancel, it would not. So I'll click cancel because I don't want to delete it for now. Now, as now other like we have added a question, the next part I would do is to add an inline text. So I obviously have uh, a question text here, But say suppose I want to add some prerequisite text or definition text just before this particular question. So I cannot add a question because question obviously has some response to get. So what I'll do is to add a normal text. I'll go under the company details and click on add some text. And it would again ask me for the same, and I'll click on cancel because I want to add it under the company details. And as I want it above this particular question, I'll cut this inline text and paste it over it and click on OK. So this has now pasted or moved the inline text above this question. So I'll just like for the demonstration purposes, I'll just add, and I can like make it as bold, italic, whatever I want to give, and I can give that, and, and that's it. As I move along, it would like save automatically. Now, if you see, there are lots of other types in the system. I'll make a special video for explaining you all these different types. But for now, this is mainly for such additional text, which is not as a part of question, but it would either explain a question or some notes on the page, or some pop-up information box. So this is what the inline text is normally used for. So the next would be like the question mark here. So it's an add a condition. So when it says add a condition, it means like it would help you with branching the questions. Okay, so when I click on this, it would add a question mark, and here I can write various conditions, and based on a particular, if a particular condition is true, I'll be able to see a question or choose a particular response. So the type of conditions all are mentioned here. So I'll again make a separate video for that to explain you how you can add conditions and how you can branch the survey or show some questions, and, hide some questions based on the responses of some other questions, etc. The next one is the info node. So this is basically or mainly used for adding details inside the survey, like countries, the list of countries if you want to add, or list of currencies you want to add. So all those extra information which is not as a part of question, but you want to use it as a choice to a drop down, or choices to say radio boxes. So commonly used choices or very big choices or multiple usage of it can be added in info box. This is very rarely used feature in a way. So this is what, and the next and the last very important thing that we have in place is to understand what this ID is all about. So if you notice, like if when I hover over each of the boxes or each of the nodes, there is this IDs, and there are separate IDs that are in place. So these are kind of unique IDs for each of the questions, for unique questions. Okay, so this ID changes for each of the nodes that are there, and in ProBench we call them as node IDs. So there will be many references of node IDs within our help documents or within our conversations. So this is what the node ID is all about. We'll also have to use these node IDs say while searching a particular node. Okay, so you can search the node by the ID. You'll also have to use this node ID in the conditions here. You'll also have to use these node IDs in the data sets at a later stage. So knowing that this is the node ID is the most important part as of now. So this is what is the template toolbox all about, and hope this was helpful. I'll continue this video, means I'll continue this video as a second part in another video, which would have an FAQs related to uh, the toolbox that we just discussed, and the questions that the users might have come up with it. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned.